Until then, that was the news. But the current time is 9:20. We just hit. And the weather is looking pretty nice right now, I'll be honest. 34 degrees. It's one of the chillier Wednesday nights we've had, but it's also a later Wednesday night than we usually have had. The next full moon is coming this month at the 23rd, which should be fun. So that takes care of some quick housekeeping. And like I said, we're going to get to our interview here with Darian Clark. I'd like you guys to welcome Darian. Here he is. How you doing, Darian?
I'm doing great, Peter. How are you?
It's going great. So, how's the day been? How would you spend Halloween?
Halloween? Well, after my classes, I went and helped out with the haunted house, and that pretty much took up most of my time. I was in one of the rooms that were scaring people, and some people got a reaction, some people not so much.
I understand that. Yeah, so do you need any more time to set up or no?
Nah, we're good.
You're all good. Okay, so we'll just jump into some of the music talk. Yeah, because Darian Clark here, local musician. That's the title. So where did Darian Clark come from? Where'd the name come from? Where'd the person come from? What are the roots of this man?
Well, you want to go back that far, huh? Well, Darian Clark started on July 19th, 2000. And I've been living all 18 years of my life in Maple Grove, Minnesota.
Sweet, yeah. So, what made you decide when picking a music moniker? I guess, just to go with your normal name, because I know a lot of people come up with pseudonyms for their names. I hate to say Dr. Seuss. He's not a musician, but recently we had Jack Starling on the show, so he goes under a pseudonym. How about any reason, or just because Darian Clark is a strong name? I'll be honest.
Well, thank you. Well, I guess I've heard of a lot of people who have been going with different stage names, but to me, I'd rather just present myself as I am. The music I make, it's very me. It's coming from my own my inside self, and I guess just having my name attached to that makes it seem all that more authentic rather than going with something that's not me. So
I like that, being yourself. That's a lesson to y'all right there. So when did you decide to start with the music? When did you decide when did you decide you wanted to make music?
Well, when I was I want to say 7 or so, was when I was first introduced to the Beatles, and ever since then I have been absolutely obsessed with their music. And I got a guitar when I was about 10, but I didn't start teaching myself until I was about 12. And by then, I started kind of experimenting with imagining up songs and such. But it was around 14 when I was making more songs, and I was actually thinking, hey, I could do this. I'd love to tour the world for a lifetime and make music for people and make people happy.
Yeah. So speaking of of making people happy, is that the emotion you want to elicit in other people when you make music, or what I know each maybe when artists release albums they are trying to elicit a different feeling, but is there a general sort of feeling you want the people who come away from your music to feel, or to an idea for them to understand?
Well, for my music, I would say it's open to interpretation. I think that's a really great thing about music as an art form, that just any art in general, that it can be interpreted many ways by different people. So with my music, I mean, I'm happy enough if it's enjoyed by people, but if they take away a meaning from it, then that's all that more special, because that means I've made a connection with them.
Yeah. So when you decided you wanted to start making music, you mentioned the Beatles. Who's been the big influences in whether they're big artists or just even people you just know? Who's been a big influence in you being a music maker?
Well, I mean, starting out, like I said, the Beatles, they've been a constant in my life. So, like a lot of people, there'll be artists that come and go, like in kind of phases. But for me, the Beatles have always been there in their music. So that is a big driving force for why I make music and what first inspired me. But artists that influence my sound, as to why I like maybe change my sound sometimes. I would say lately it's been the Arctic Monkeys, Tame Impala, a tiny bit of 21 Pilots here and there, and like Billy Joel, David Bowie, and sometimes maybe I'll listen to something out of my genre like rap or something, and that will like kind of change my sound and like take inspiration.
I like that. Extra important question, because otherwise every question is important, but extra important question. What era Billy Joel? Because this is important to me, okay? 80s, which one do you think you'll take more influence from? 80s, 90s, which one?
Yeah, well, a lot of what's on the radio is 80s Billy Joel.
Yeah.
So, I would say a lot of that, a lot of early Billy Joel.
Okay. Cool. When did you finish your first song? What was it? What was your first song?
My very first song, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll have you know that it was about when I was 10 or 11. It was called I Broke the World.
Sounds like an instant classic.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, all the radio stations were playing. Where were you? No, it was nothing short of just drumming the guitar randomly and just saying, I broke the world down to the ground. I don't know why. You better look out. That was the words.
I like this. I like this punk. Ah.
Yeah. So that was my first foray into writing songs, and so kind of evolved from there, or at least I hope I have.
Yeah. No. So that was your first song that you made, but like, when did you feel like you really had something like worthy on your hands? Well, what point did you feel like you were like, you know what, I could go places with this?
Yeah. So back in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, I was about 12, and my mom took me to this place called Northeast Palace, and it's a local kind of bar, and it's got a host band, and so the host band let me play on stage with them, and they let me play one of my own songs, and they were like, we're gonna back you up, you just tell us how to play it. And so I got up there and I played a couple of my own songs, and people were cheering, and it felt really good. And I got to do a couple cover songs, and it was just that energy of having people enjoy the music that you made personally is what made me feel like this is something I want to go out and do.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. Do you know what band that was?
I don't. It was the backing band for a guy called oh shoot.
No,
I had it at the top of my head, but he was a big sensation locally back in the 80s. Wayne McFarlane, that was his name. Wayne McFarlane, R&B artist back in the day, a long time ago. So
cool.
Yeah.
So when you what did it feel like when you'd finished you record songs and you post them on SoundCloud, right, and Bandcamp?
Yeah. So I started out with YouTube back in 2013. Mm-hmm. That's when I first made a YouTube video, because I had gone into a local studio and they had posted a video of me playing in their studio. And so I figured, well, if I'm going to be on the internet in some way, I better make people know who I am and where to find me.
Yeah. Okay. So you had your stuff on YouTube and stuff. What did it feel like when you you put out your first song that you were really proud of on there?
Yeah. So the first song I put out on YouTube, It actually wasn't a full song. It was a preview of a song I had done called A Little Understanding, and really uploading that first video, it felt awesome. Like, it was just the start of a journey, and I didn't know where it was going to take me. So I mostly felt like I'm excited to hear what people think. I couldn't wait for people to comment and to tell all my friends I have a YouTube channel and such.
Yeah, that's good. So, about your music, like how you make it. What does your inspiration creation process look like, other than how you said you listen to other music and incorporate those elements?
Yeah, I think it's changed a little bit over the years. A lot of people would ask me how I write music, how I come up with the words I do, and for the longest time I would tell people it just comes out of my head. It just I used to make songs on the fly. I would just start strumming something on my guitar, and words would just come to my head for no particular reason. But the last 3 years or so, it's been more experience-based and more of like inner feelings. Not all the time, but sometimes it's inner feelings, and it also varies, like what instrument I start on. Like sometimes I'll have a good chord progression on a guitar that I want to try, or piano, or have a good bass riff, and it just kind of changes.
Okay. So, what would you say, like, you most enjoy about your process?
I just like creating. Just starting out with one thing and just adding layers and layers to it and see what I can create out of just a simple single idea.
Okay. So, how do you make your sounds, I guess, is another one on this along this line of how you make your music. Like, how do you choose which sounds, and what do you use for your sounds? What have you used recently? What have you used in the past?
Mostly I start on guitar, so I have electric guitar and acoustic guitar, and depending on how long I've had the idea of the song in my head, typically going into a recording, I have an idea of what I want it to sound like what kind of keyboard sounds I want, what kind of guitar or bass sounds, but a lot of the time, the end result of a song usually just happens to be whatever I stumble upon. Like, I'll start out with guitar and bass most often, and some vocals, and then I'll add a little bit of harmony to it and say, oh, that sounds nice, I should add it some more. Or, like, piano would sound good with this, or how about a synthesizer? And I'll just scroll through, like, different sounds, and if I find something that sounds good, I'll add it to it.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. So, what has been your most recent project? I know you've mentioned. Why don't you elaborate? I guess on you put out a single run recently.
Mm-hmm.
You played Under the Influence, which was one of your songs at the Dragon's Got Talent show, which was really cool. And you put out an EP on Bandcamp. Yeah, why don't you elaborate on some of those?
Yeah. So my release is up until last September. Had just been on YouTube and a little bit later SoundCloud. And I thought that I should actually, my music is getting decent enough that I should put it out there for people to actually purchase and take home with them. So last September I had released a 7-song EP called Phase 1, and that was my goal at the start of that year, that I would put some sort of album out, or EP. So I put that out on Bandcamp, and then as far as this year goes, I've just been kind of formulating a lot of ideas and putting together lists and making songs, and you mentioned Run, which was a song that I made last fall. It was dedicated to my cross-country team since I was graduating. I made a song for our end-of-season banquet, and this summer I spent the latter half of July and the beginning of August filming in my hometown, filming for that video, and I recently released that on my YouTube channel.
Which is, by the way, what, Darian Clark?
Yeah,
just
Darian Clark on YouTube. Yeah, and my Bandcamp is darianclark.bandcamp.com.
Awesome.
So, yeah, and as far as future projects go, I'm currently working on putting together a bunch of songs for a hopefully a release in the early 2019.
Awesome. So, you recently performed at the Dragon's Got Talent show, which was, I don't know, there was a lot of talented people there, but you kind of stood out in the music department. How did you think that's like affected your go through so far?
Like performing at talent shows, or
yeah, have you performed at other talent shows recently too?
Well, not recently, but I've like at my high school, I've performed at a couple talent shows in the past.
Yeah. Do you think has that been great for your publicity, or have you been finding other ways to plug yourself?
Yeah. For my publicity, I mean certainly exposure is good, but I honestly don't know how many of those people watch my performance and then go should look them up afterwards, or if it's that memorable. But for me personally, I think that it's just great experience being on stage. I used to be very shy, and I kind of had stage fright, especially in elementary school. But ever since, like, performing in front of audiences, especially like school audiences where I know a few of the people, so I feel a little more comfortable, I think it just helps with dealing with bigger crowds and dealing with overcoming stage fright.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, do you have any tips for other people who might have stage fright, who you could impart some of your wisdom to?
Yeah. Well, I would say just go out on stage, and I mean, you know what you're good at. You practice like in solitude all the time, and just let your heart speak what you're feeling. Let your heart connect to the music, and just focus on you. Nobody else in the audience matters. One thing for me that actually I have poor vision, so I'm very nearsighted. And I wear contacts, but that only does so much. I'm also sensitive to bright light. So with that, most of the time, the overhead lights of an auditorium usually cancels out the audience for me. So I usually see like a shadow. I don't usually see individual people most of the time. So that has helped me. But for someone who maybe all they see is the audience, just take a deep breath. You don't even have to look at the audience if you don't want to. Wear some sunglasses.
Yeah.
Many famous people wear sunglasses, and just do what you love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm on board with you about not being able to see the audience. I can't say I have the best eyes either, and I was in a lot of drama performances on stage and stuff, and yeah, with the lights, you can't even see the crowd, which is, I know a lot of people assume that it's just like, whoa, I'm just seeing everybody, but really the lights help you with that. But yeah, now that we're moving towards some more uplifting stuff, I thought we might wrap up with some some fun questions. Like I thought maybe let's start giving the guests. Let's start learning about what they like to eat for breakfast. Okay, so I've got some questions here for you. Some rapid fire, a speed round, if you will. So here we go. Cheerios or Fruit Loops?
Ooh, Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops.
Unless they're Honey Nut Cheerios.
Oh, dang, yeah, good ones there. So Mini Wheats or Raisin Bran?
If I had to choose, Raisin Bran. Raisin Bran.
So you're not a fan of either?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Frosted Flakes or Honey Bunches of Oat?
Honey Bunches of Oat.
Is it the Bunches of Oat, or is it anything else there?
The honey.
The honey. Honey fan. Okay. Last one more after this one. But so I am not here to judge. Okay.
Okay.
I love you either way. And listeners, I want you to know that you should not be angry either way if he answers this question, okay?
Okay.
So, do you put the milk in first or the cereal in first?
Oh, cereal.
Cereal. Okay. We're not in a place because there's different ways. Fun fact: I was told originally you're meant to put the milk in first so the cereal doesn't get soggy. But you know what?
Oh.
You know what? I am not here to support nor trash on milk first. Okay, I am neither.
Either way, I drink it in the end.
Yeah. Ooh, yes. The real enemy. No, I'm just kidding. So last question here. What is your favorite cereal?
My favorite cereal? Oh, well, when I was really young, it was Cookie Crisp. Since then, I think I always fall back on Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Hey, that's a good one. I'll be honest. So, yeah. So, if you guys enjoyed this, I'm going to be playing some Darian Clark right after this. And if you enjoy his songs, you can find him on Bandcamp at darianclark.bandcamp.com.
Yep.
And Darian Clark on YouTube. Anywhere else, Darian?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, Darian Clark Music on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, social medias, Darian Clark. You can probably find me.
Yeah.
Blonde hair.
Mm-hmm.
Very blonde hair.
Blonde hair.
Yeah.
Sometimes, he looked like a genuine Beatle. I'll be honest with you. He put his hair down earlier. But, yeah, so coming up here, we have, which one would you rather have, Under the Influence or Run?
How about Under the Influence? Under
the Influence. We're going to be playing Under the Influence by Darian Clark right here. I hope you enjoy this, folks. Darian Clark is a good pal of mine. I hope you enjoy.